Hi, my name's Mark Liffland, and I teach at South Brunswick High School. I'm the tech educator, and I wanted to share with you a couple of things that are happening at the high school, and also share with you how you can use VR in the classroom. So, I wrote a grant for the South Brunswick Education Foundation. It was awarded a grant for $1,000, and that allowed me to purchase a class set of Google Cardboard. And here's an example of what they will look like when they come in. The phone will fit inside here, and then you strap this on over your head like this. I probably look pretty silly right now, but essentially that's the way that it works. And this is not the expensive item really, but to get a class set of 30 was going to cost them a fair amount of money. And the other thing I wanted to get was some phones for students whose phones don't work that day, or they're not charged, or they have a crack in the screen, or for whatever reason their phone is not compatible with the VR. So we do have a couple of phones, not that many, but I think I was able to get two or three. So that is something that you might want to talk to students before you engage with VR, that most of them will need to have a set of phones, or you could decide to rotate. Currently, I have purchased for my own money a number of sets, and then I also have some sets that were given to me. One when I went to the Google Leadership Academy, so I have four of those. They're a little bit different. They kind of look like this, and you can use these as well. And they kind of open up like this. And you put your phone in here. You close it up, and then you put it over your face. These are really simple items. I even have one that I've been able to purchase for $5 or $6, and some that I've even seen at places like TJ Maxx and Marshalls and Ross Dress for Less that have sold them for from $11, that are a little bit nicer, that are more along the lines of these. They're not that expensive to purchase. And what they do is they take the power of your phone, the gyroscope and the accelerometer, and map your phone where it is in space, and then basically create a stereoscopic image. And this is old technology. I mean, it goes back, I think, even to the 1880s. Maybe it goes back even further, as far as I know. This is something that's been around for a long time. What makes this different today is that we can do video with it as well. So let me walk you through what we're going to cover today, and then the second half of this, when it was done as a workshop at the high school on the PD Day on February 17th, this coming Friday, you'll be able to actually work with the apps itself. So ideas, the first half will be this, and the second half will be working with the actual headsets, or we'll switch and go the other way around, and your first half will be just working with the headsets, and then you'll watch this video. Because I currently only have 18, and if I have more than 18 people come in right now, I won't be able to do both at the same time. So this kind of solves that problem. Okay, so today in this presentation, I wanted to go over a couple of things related to VR, like what is VR, what actually is it, why use VR in the classroom, and then I need to define some important terms that I think you'll need to know. And then I have some ways in which I think VR can be done, and the three basic ways. One is through Google Expeditions, which is an app that was created specifically for the headset that I was looking at, but also you can do VR apps, like actual individual apps that are created by all different kinds of companies that are out there, and students would have to download those apps. And then finally with videos that you can find on YouTube that are already ready for you to view. This presentation was freely adapted from Jack Bosley, and there's his email there, and also from Field Trip VR, from a really great workshop that I went to online called Education on Air, which is done by Google, and they did all kinds of different workshops, not just VR. And those were two that were done through Google On Air, and I kind of took some of their slides and I've added some things and kind of combined and really adapted it, as I say here. Okay. So the first question is, what is virtual reality?
Virtual reality is a fully immersive computer-simulated environment that gives a user the feeling of being in that environment instead of the one they're actually in. A lot of video games have already developed the technology to put the user in an interactive world, in the driver's seat of a car, or on the battlefield in a first-person shooter, or even in your own little town. However, your perception of reality is not altered. You are simply a spectator overseeing the events that are happening in that world. In order for your brain to perceive a virtual environment, there are a few key factors that are vital for the creation of an immersive experience necessary for virtual reality. While there are different display methods, one of the most popular ways to experience virtual reality is through a headset. Headset devices use stereoscopic display to make what you see three-dimensional, and to give depth to the image that you're looking at, kind of like how our eyes see anyways. However, stereoscopic display does not an immersive experience make. The ability to track a user's motion, particularly their head and eye movements, allows the image displayed in the headset to actually change with your perspective. So if you turn your head to the left, the display will render whatever is on your left in that environment. Besides vision, certain VR experiences will also include other sensory stimulation like sound and even tactile feedback for touch. Lastly, in order to truly alter the perception of our reality, there has to be a certain level of virtual interactivity. True interactivity should allow a certain degree of user-controlled navigation, so I should be able to walk forward, backward, or turn through space in the virtual environment so that I don't feel like I'm just watching an elaborate 3D movie. When we are able to freely move within that environment, and even interact with things in it, our brains can truly perceive that world as real, and thus, virtual reality. Virtual reality has a lot of practical purposes outside of gaming, and has been used for training simulators for soldiers, pilots, and doctors. But it is pretty cool for gaming too. Virtual reality has seen somewhat of a resurrection lately thanks to exceedingly improved technology and hardware. Devices like the Oculus Rift have advanced the VR experience by including superior graphics, improved latency, and wider range of motion. Reduced cost of components are also allowing virtual reality devices to become more affordable for consumers. For more information on virtual reality, check out Mashable's latest coverage, and don't forget to watch the other videos in our Mashable.
So the idea behind virtual reality is that it gets at another way to teach something. Um, it is kinesthetic, it is visual, it's an immersive experience, and there are some articles that seem to suggest that it does increase student engagement, and it helps us understand some complex ideas that are difficult to understand were it not for the fact that you could actually see it in a model form like you would with VR. And this kind of really gets at this particular video really gets at that element that if it weren't for being able to track something in 3D, it would be very difficult to solve some complex problems. It makes some complex problems seem a little bit more simple. So when you think about ways in which you'd like to use VR, that might be something that you might want to think about. Are there some models out there that are difficult for you to explain, but maybe in virtual reality, it makes it a little bit easier for them to understand that concept? And here is a video about how Google Cardboard, the simple version of this, they're calling it cardboard because it's not that expensive. Sometimes they're made out of plastic and sometimes they're made out of cardboard. Most of them are made out of cardboard, but more and more have been made out of plastic as companies have come in and seen the market that's available to make these kinds of headsets. So cardboard is just really sort of a metaphor for the idea of it being inexpensive when you pair it with your phone. If you want to get something that's really expensive, there's the VR headset they were using in that video, which is made by Oculus, which is now owned by Facebook. And there's also other ones out there like PlayStation VR and the HTC Vive. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're very expensive. They're like just under $1,000, some of them. So these are far less when you pair it with your phone.
I see the baby's heart. I see it in 3D. I can see it from the front, the back. I can see it from the top, and I can see it from the bottom. Each one of these is a 2D image, but when I close it and I look through the lenses, then I get 3D, and I can move it just by turning my head. And you know, for a surgeon, that's everything. He knows exactly what he's going to get when he opens up that baby's chest.
That is so cool. You move and it moves the heart. It's almost like you're in her heart.
It's revolutionary because the way that we would plan surgery in the past is we took a two-dimensional image, and then in our mind we would have to process that and try to come up with an idea of what we were going to see when the baby's chest was open.
So your team sat in a room and all of you guys were doing this?
A bunch of us, yeah. Minutes and millimeters make the difference between getting it right and getting it wrong. Once we saw these images, we said, wait a second, we can figure this out. I think this is the difference between her living and dying.
Up here is the link to that article that CNN put out for that particular video. So if you want to read more, you can. I have a whole bunch of articles that I think that might be useful for you, just if you're thinking about VR in general. So from Atlantic Monthly, there's an article taking a look at, does it really help in education? There are two articles from Shake Up Learning, which are a good source of, it's actually written by a teacher who blogs on all things tech and really talks a little bit about how to use it in the classroom. And then a couple of other articles near the bottom, the last three, I say, would be more along the lines of research that has been done in the area of VR and its effectiveness. So interesting reads there if you're interested. We're going to go over some terms right now just to give everyone a common understanding of what I mean. Google Expeditions, Google Cardboard, and virtual reality apps. So the Expeditions is an app that we'll talk about later on in this presentation. But essentially what this app does is it allows for a teacher to take students on virtual field trips, and these field trips have all over the place, and you'll see a spreadsheet that will actually go through and detail all the different places that you can go on these field trips. Like, for instance, you can go to a university, or you can actually go inside all of the different systems within the body, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, and so on. It also allows for you to go to places all around the world, like you can go to the Amazon, and I can go on and on. What these expeditions are is basically an opportunity for teachers to take students on field trips, but the teacher actually controls what the student sees at any given moment, and then actually can work from there. The second thing here is called Google Cardboard. And Google Cardboard is basically the platform that Google created for doing virtual reality on the cheap. And the Google Cardboard is basically this idea that anyone can take the actual, because actually have a PDF that you can download and put it onto a piece of cardboard and cut things out and then make the actual lenses as well. And basically, it's just a cheap way to create this headset piece. Virtual reality apps are apps that, in theory, I guess could also include Google Expeditions, because that's really what Expeditions is. It's just another app that can be used. But virtual reality apps are all, there's all different kinds, and we'll talk all about the different ones. And they're not made by Google. They're made by other platform makers who are interested in going into the VR market. One of my favorites is one called Titans for Space, where you can actually sit in the cockpit of a spaceship and you see all of the planet system, the whole planetary system come at you, and they give you some facts and information on that. A lot of other apps out there. So